Ticket number 16803. Create detail endpoints for children. So we're going to create an endpoint that retrieves detailed information for children of specific types, given the hash value. So if we come to SLM and we select a CIF, let's grab the hash value for that CIF. If we come to Postman, we already have an object children get command here. If we use our CIF hash value that we just copied and click send. So this command actually retrieves the metadata for every child or descendant within that CIF. This will include things like devices. You can see here there'll be demand events, inputs, etc. So let's now come to our new get command, object children data. Let's paste our CIF hash into here. And you can see at the end of this command, we have /inputs. So this is actually going to retrieve the object data. It's very similar to the previous command, but at the end, we're going to add the type ID of the child we want to retrieve. So in this example, it's going to retrieve every single input within that CIF. Let's click send. And it's retrieved our information. If we scroll to the bottom, we can see a total count of 4 inputs. Let's bear in mind that this is not the metadata for the inputs, it's the actual object data itself. So every single field for every single input. And if we come across to SLM, if we expand that CIF and the input groups and input voting groups, we can see we have 2 inputs here. There's our third input and there's our fourth input. Ticket number 16802. Create hierarchy endpoints for objects. So we're creating endpoints that retrieve all direct children of a specific object and recursively fetches the children for each child to return the complete branch hierarchy. So if we open up Postman and we come to QA demo and get object hierarchy, if we then come to SLM and we'll go to instrumented systems, we'll come down to a CIF. And we'll grab the hash value for that CIF. Then add the hash value to this get command and click send. If we come to preview, let's do a side-by-side comparison with SLM. So we can see we have 6 children here for this CIF object. Now we're in instrumented systems right now, so we can see the input group, logic solver, and output groups. If we were in operate and maintain, for example, we would also be able to see the demand events in there. So it's got 6 children in total spread across the different modules. We've got the input groups expanded here. So if we just expand the input groups, we're going to have 3 input groups in here. So inside this input group, which is this middle one here, SRA 006 33T503 underscore C1. We have an input voting group. Inside there we have 1 input. So here's our input group, the input voting group. Here's the input we can see inside there. The 33TT503 underscore C1, which is here. Inside here, we can see that we have an input set point. So if we have a look in here, scroll down slightly, there's our input set point. We can see that there's also 3 device events in there. So if we come back to SLM and we come back to the operate and maintain module for the same CIF, we can see that inside here, inside 001 CIF 123, inside our input 33TT503 underscore C1, we have our 3 device events, which can be seen just here. There's also a voting set point. So if we come back to instrumented systems, here's the voting set point, which is nested inside the input voting group. Ticket number 16789, I/O sensitivity unit level report. So if we come to instrumented systems, come to the reports tab, we can see the I/O sensitivity unit report here. You can see we have our site unit. For the starting interval, we're going to have 0.5 years. The interval step will be every 0.5 years. We're going to use the custom failure rate for the input failures, the output failures, and the logic solver failures. So let's generate the report. That will then create a background task for us. Once that's completed, we can come to our download manager and we can download the report. If we open the report, you can see the title showing the unit that was selected. If we come to the next page, we can see the specifications used for running the calculations. We can see that we've pulled all of the CIF IDs from the unit. Each row represents a new CIF. We've pulled in the seal target RRF, and you can see the I/O test intervals in years. We've selected 0.5, so it shows the RRF calculation results for each CIF, where the I/O testing frequencies are the same, highlighted red or green, depending on if it meets the seal target. Ticket number 16788. Project Notifications Activity List, select all option. So if we come to SLM, we come to the Enterprise Projects, and here we can see the notifications for the project. Here we have 10 unread notifications for the Sprint Review project. So if we come into here, we now have an option at the top to select all. This option has been added to any grid with a toolbar custom commands, such as here, or grids that already have row level checkboxes for item selection. So if we select all, this selects and deselects all items, including those not visible on the current page. So if we mark them all as red, we close this window and refresh the template. You can see we have 0 unread notifications for the sprint review. If we come back in here, select all, and mark them all as unread, that's saved successfully. If we now close and refresh the template, we can see that we have 537 unread notifications. Ticket number 16760, HAZOP printout Chromium report. So we've made some changes to the HAZOP facilitation report. This is how the report looked initially, with the deviation, cause, likelihood, severity, risk ranking, consequences, barriers, recommendations, and LOPA. If we now come to the HAZOP module, we choose a HAZOP study, come to the facilitation template, and we print this report. That then creates a background task. Once the report generation is complete in the background task, if we come to the download manager, let's download the report in PDF format. If we open the report and we scroll down to this node that's been filled in completely, you can see we still have the deviation, cause, consequence, risk ranking before, safeguards, and actions. And we can see now the slight adjustment that's been made in the layout. And we now have the likelihood with safeguards and the risk ranking with safeguards as well. Ticket number 16753. Request for users to be able to clear LOPA consequence, category and severity. So if we come to the LOPA module and come down to a LOPA worksheet, we come to the applicable values, we click on edit. For the category and severity, if we set it to 3 major, save changes. That's now saved. If we click edit again, we can now come back, click on the drop down, select this top option, which is blank, and that will clear the category and severity. Let's just save, and we can see the severity is now clear. Ticket number 16749. Request for name and description on FSA report. So if we come to the FSA module, we come down to Assist, and we click on an FSA ID. Here we can see we've got the name, FSA Sprint Review 336, and the description, FSA Sprint Review Description. If we come to the final report template and click Print, that will generate our background task. That's now complete. If we now come to our download manager and download the PDF, if we open the PDF, we can now see that we have the name and the description on page 1 of the report. Ticket number 16626, add configuration parameter to data field. So in this request, we're going to add a configuration parameter to the data field configuration interface in the data catalog, so that the admin account may have access to the field note configuration parameter. Turning on this parameter would enable the notes entry for the field in the same way that the unit choice field parameter enables the field unit of measure entry. So if we come to Instrumented Systems and we come to a SIF and the General tab, if we click on Edit, we can see that we haven't got a notes field currently for demand mode. So if we come to the System module, come to the Data Catalog, if we filter on SIFs, and now we'll filter again for demand, find demand mode and click on Edit. If we scroll down, we can see a checkbox here to enable notes. So if we click on there and save, that's been successfully saved. If we come back to Instrumented Systems and refresh the general template, if we now click on Edit again, we can see that for demand mode, we now have notes. So if we save that note, any field that's had a note added to it will have this image attached to it. And if we hover over that, we can see the text within the note. Ticket number 9281. Add bar chart graphic to the barrier overview. So in SLM, in the LOPA module, if we select our unit and we come to the credited IPL register template, we can see a bar chart's been added for the barrier summary credited for that unit.